Have you ever looked back at your life and wondered, have I truly lived, or am I just racing against time? The truth is, time slips away faster than we realize. But what if I told you that the very way we perceive time might be the root cause of that feeling of rushing? How much of your life have you spent on things that didn't bring you lasting joy or peace? Have you ever stopped to ask yourself if you've truly experienced the moments that matter most? As we age, many of us feel like the days are slipping through our fingers, and yet, we often fail to recognize the gift of time that is right in front of us. The Buddha once said, "The trouble is you think you have time." This statement is a wake-up call, a reminder that time is not something we control, but something that passes through us, flowing like a river, always moving forward. But here's the secret. Time doesn't have to feel like an enemy. Through mindfulness and the principles of Buddhist teachings, especially Zen, we can learn to slow down, embrace the present moment, and reclaim the richness of life that often eludes us in our rush. Are you ready to explore how to truly live and make every moment count? Let's dive in. Part 1. What is time? Have you ever looked in the mirror and thought, where did the time go? How many of us, especially over 60, are starting to feel like we don't have enough time left to do everything we've always wanted? Time. It's something we all seem to be running out of, isn't it? Have you ever felt that nagging sense that the clock is ticking faster, and no matter how hard you try, you just can't catch up? If you're like most people over 60, you probably feel like there's so much you still want to do, but so little time to do it. But here's the thing. What if I told you that the real problem isn't the amount of time you have, but how you're perceiving it? The teachings of Buddhism offer us an entirely different perspective on time. In Buddhist philosophy, time is not something we own. It's a gift. Time flows, like a river that carries us along, and whether we realize it or not, we are often swept up in its current. But the mistake we make is thinking we can chase after it, as if we can somehow capture or control it. Time doesn't need us to chase it. It just exists. In Zen Buddhism, the idea becomes even more profound. Zen encourages us to slow down, to be present, to live fully in the moment. We often think that time is running out, but the truth is, time is always here, right now. We spend so much of our lives worrying about the future or dwelling on the past that we forget the most important moment of all, the one we are living right now. Zen masters, with their simple yet profound teachings, remind us, we cannot hold time, we can only experience it as it unfolds. It is in the present, the here and now, where true life is found. But how do we reclaim our time and start living in the present? You might think, I get it, but how do I stop racing through life and start living in the moment? Well, the answer lies in a concept we talk about a lot in Buddhism, mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of paying full attention to what is happening right now. It is about living consciously and with intention in every moment. When we practice mindfulness, we begin to notice things we've ignored before, the sun's warmth on our face, the sound of birds outside, or the taste of our food. These simple moments are what life is made of. And yet, we often miss them because we're too busy rushing through our tasks, checking off our to-do lists, or obsessing about things that may never happen. In psychology, there's something called the present bias. We're wired to focus on the future. We save for retirement, we plan for next year, we stress over next month's events. But this constant focus on the future robs us of our ability to be present, and that anxiety about what's to come often makes us feel like there's never enough time. The more we chase tomorrow, the less we live today. What if the secret to living fully was to simply stop? From my own experience, I can tell you that the most profound moments of peace in my life came when I simply stopped. Stopped trying to control everything, stopped planning every second, and just let myself be present in whatever was happening in that moment. I remember a time when I was completely caught up in the hustle and bustle of daily life. I was juggling work, family, and endless commitments. I kept thinking, once I finish this, then I'll rest. But there was always something else, another deadline, another responsibility. And before I knew it, I realized years had passed. It wasn't until I started practicing mindfulness that I learned to truly slow down and appreciate the time I had, not by racing to the finish line, but by being present with every step of the journey. Now, I know what you're thinking. That sounds nice, but how do I begin? Let's take a simple step together. The first thing you can do is pause. Take a deep breath, close your eyes for a moment, and notice how your body feels. Don't rush, just be. This may sound too simple, but trust me, it works. The more you practice this, the more you'll begin to realize how much of life we overlook in our constant rush. By cultivating mindfulness, we reclaim time in a way we never thought possible. And here's another powerful tool that works wonders: stop multitasking. Multitasking may seem like an efficient way to use your time, but research shows that it increases stress and reduces our effectiveness. Instead, try to focus on one task at a time. Whether it's eating, walking, or talking to a friend, give it your full attention. Doing so, you'll experience a deeper sense of satisfaction and you'll feel more connected to your life, your surroundings, and yourself. Imagine waking up tomorrow with a new perspective on time. Would you be able to savor life in ways you never have before? By focusing on what's happening right now, you'll notice that time stops feeling like something that's slipping through your fingers. Instead, it becomes something you experience and embrace with awareness. The truth is, we can't control how much time we have, but we can control how we spend it. Mindfulness allows us to live more fully, to breathe in the moments we have, and to cherish the time we've been given. Now that we've explored how time can slip away unnoticed, let's take a moment to ask ourselves, what are we spending that precious time on? We often get caught up in the daily rush, thinking we're being productive, but are we truly investing in what matters most? It's easy to get distracted by the noise of the world, but the deeper question is, what is it that we need to focus on to feel fulfilled and at peace? Let's dive into what truly matters and how we can shift our attention to what will bring us lasting joy. Part 2. What truly matters? Have you ever felt like you're running through life, constantly busy but never really living? In the rush to meet everyone's expectations, what have you missed out on? At this stage in life, we start to reflect. You may have felt that you've spent years working hard, fulfilling responsibilities, and meeting social pressures, only to realize that somewhere along the way, you may have missed the most important thing: truly living in the present moment. You might ask yourself, did I live? Or was I just going through the motions? Buddhism teaches us an important truth. Everything in life is impermanent. Nothing lasts forever, not even the busy moments we think are so important. Buddha emphasized that what matters is not how much you accumulate or how many things you achieve, but how deeply you live. Time, as we often think of it, is not something we own. It's a gift we are entrusted with, and it moves forward whether we're paying attention or not. So, why wait for that perfect moment to begin living fully? Buddha warned us that someday may never come. It's all too easy to say, I'll rest tomorrow, I'll enjoy life when I have more time. But the reality is, tomorrow is not promised. What if I told you that this very moment, this breath, this heartbeat, is the only one that truly matters? Zen teachings offer a powerful perspective. We must embrace the present. Zen masters often remind us that the only time we truly have is now. What is the point of the future? They ask. It's the present moment where life unfolds. In the Zen tradition, mindfulness, Chan-Neem, isn't just a meditation practice. It's about living with full awareness in every moment, from the simplest actions like walking to drinking a cup of tea. When we live mindfully, we stop chasing a future that may never arrive and start to appreciate what's right in front of us. Imagine sitting in silence and simply listening to your breath. It sounds simple, but there's immense power in this simplicity. Does living in the moment make a difference? According to psychology, this practice of mindfulness has profound effects on our mental health. Living in the present reduces anxiety and stress, which often arise from worrying about the future or regretting the past. When we focus on what's happening right now, we stop racing against time, and the constant pressure we feel begins to melt away. Our lives don't seem to shrink into a blur of rushing from task to task. Instead, we start to find joy and meaning in the smallest, most mundane things. For example, have you ever truly felt the warmth of the sun on your skin or taken the time to notice the beauty of a flower blooming? These small moments become gateways to peace when we embrace them fully. I've been where you are, chasing after deadlines, constantly moving, feeling like life was slipping away. But when I started practicing mindfulness, it was like the fog lifted. I began to feel every moment more deeply, whether it was taking a walk or sharing a laugh with a friend. Every minute became something I could savor. What if I told you that a simple shift in how you experience time could change your life? And here's the truth I've learned. It doesn't require drastic changes or huge life events. It starts with small shifts, simple actions that help us become more present. It could be as easy as taking a deep breath before responding to someone, or spending a few minutes reflecting at the end of the day. It's about reconnecting with yourself and with the world around you, moment by moment. You don't need to wait for some grand epiphany to live fully. Each breath is a new beginning. As someone who's practiced mindfulness for many years, I can tell you that this shift in perception isn't a quick fix. It's a lifelong journey. But each step, no matter how small, brings you closer to a life filled with more peace, more connection, and more authenticity. So let me ask you, what are you waiting for? It's never too late to start living fully. So, if living fully begins with being present, what about the people around us? Relationships, those moments of connection with others, are just as precious as the moments we spend with ourselves. Let's explore how cultivating meaningful relationships in our later years can deepen the richness of life. Part 3. What are relationships? How long has it been since you last truly connected with a close friend or simply took the time to listen to a loved one? As we grow older, it's easy to feel that the relationships we once cherished have started to fade. We get caught up in the busyness of life, perhaps even overwhelmed by the idea of time running out. And, in the process, we neglect those connections that truly matter. But what do we miss out on when we allow these relationships to wither? In Buddhism, we are taught that all beings are interconnected. Our relationships are not possessions that we can hold on to indefinitely, but threads that we must continuously nourish and tend to. These connections, whether with family, friends, or even strangers, are part of the fabric of our lives. The Buddha often spoke of interdependence, the understanding that our happiness is connected to the well-being of others. When we ignore relationships or fail to nurture them, we are cutting off our connection to the world and, in a way, to ourselves. What if I told you that through each act of love, forgiveness, and kindness, you are not only healing others, but also healing yourself? Zen teachings take this further by suggesting that every relationship, every interaction, is an opportunity for personal liberation. Every word spoken, every action performed, creates karma, the law of cause and effect. In Zen, relationships are seen as sacred opportunities to free ourselves from attachment and ego. When we engage with others from a place of presence and mindfulness, we are not just interacting with them. We are also confronting our limitations, our tendencies to be selfish or unkind, and we are making conscious efforts to overcome them. Zen asks us to approach our relationships as spiritual practices, each encounter as a chance to deepen our understanding of ourselves and the world around us. What impact do your relationships have on your well-being, especially as you grow older? Psychology supports this wisdom by showing that positive relationships can significantly impact both mental and physical health. Studies have demonstrated that people with strong social connections tend to live longer and experience less stress. This is because healthy relationships provide emotional support, reduce feelings of loneliness, and foster a sense of belonging, factors that are crucial for overall well-being, especially in later life. Conversely, isolation or toxic relationships can lead to heightened stress levels, anxiety, and even depression. At a time when many face the challenges of aging, such as loneliness or the loss of loved ones, maintaining and nurturing healthy relationships becomes even more important for our health. In my life, I've found that the times I've felt the most connected and at peace were those spent in meaningful conversations or quiet moments with family and friends. I remember a period in my life when I was deeply engrossed in my work, leaving little room for personal connections. It wasn't until I took a step back and reevaluated my relationships that I realized how much I had been missing. Reconnecting with loved ones, whether through a simple phone call or a shared meal, has brought me a sense of fulfillment that nothing else could. I now see relationships as one of the most powerful tools for finding joy, no matter the challenges life brings. Are there any relationships in your life that need healing? Perhaps there's someone you need to forgive, or someone you need to reach out to before it's too late. This brings me to a powerful question. How are you tending to your relationships? As we age, it's natural for some relationships to become strained or neglected. Old wounds may resurface, and unresolved conflicts can create emotional distance. But Buddhism teaches us that forgiveness and compassion are key to freeing ourselves from the burden of negative karma. Letting go of grudges, even the smallest ones, is essential not only for others, but for our peace of mind. I've encountered many people, both in my personal life and in my work, who, in their later years, wish they had reached out to someone they had fallen out with. Perhaps it's a family member or an old friend. There's an underlying fear of rejection, or maybe guilt about the past, but the truth is, healing starts with the willingness to open our hearts. The simple act of reaching out, even if just to say, "I'm sorry," or "I miss you," can be transformative. In many cases, it's not the other person who needs to change. It's us, choosing to break free from the chains of resentment and fear. Could you be holding on to something that's preventing you from fully living in the present? When we shift our mindset and embrace the Buddhist principle of loving kindness, metta, we realize that the way we treat others is a direct reflection of how we treat ourselves. The Buddha encouraged his followers to approach all beings with compassion, not just the ones who are easy to love, but also those who challenge us. Every act of kindness, no matter how small, plants a seed of peace in our hearts. And in turn, this peace extends to those around us, fostering deeper and more meaningful connections. Psychology also points to the importance of self-compassion, treating yourself with the same kindness you would offer a loved one. This principle is deeply connected to Buddhist teachings. If you are harsh with others, likely, you are also being harsh with yourself. To truly heal our relationships, we must begin by healing ourselves. Take a moment to reflect. Are you giving yourself the love and compassion you deserve? And once you begin to extend that kindness inward, it becomes easier to do the same for others. What would happen if you let go of the past and embraced the present, with all its imperfections? Now, let's take a moment to consider the relationships that may need your attention. Is there someone in your life you need to forgive? Maybe someone you need to thank or simply spend more time with. Or perhaps, there's someone who needs your support, even if they haven't asked for it. As you reflect on this, think about how you can open your heart to these relationships and nurture them with mindfulness and compassion. Whether it's a gentle apology, a heartfelt conversation, or just being present, these small actions can have profound effects on your peace and the peace of those around you. As we've explored, relationships form the foundation of our emotional well-being, and nurturing them can bring profound peace. But there's another layer to this journey of life, finding purpose, especially as we age. Let's now turn our focus to how we can rediscover purpose and meaning, no matter where we are in life. Part 4. Aging Crisis and Finding Purpose. Have you ever found yourself wondering, what now, after retirement, or as you grow older? You may have lived your life fully, but now you feel uncertain about what to do with what's left. As we age, many of us experience a crisis of purpose. After decades of focusing on work, raising families, and fulfilling social roles, it can feel unsettling when those external markers of success fade. You may feel that you've lived fully, but now, with the passing of time and the slowing down of life, you might find yourself questioning, what's next? Buddhism teaches us that every stage of life holds its unique meaning. Change is not something to fear. It's an opportunity to grow, reflect, and learn. In Buddhist philosophy, aging is seen not as a loss, but as a transition. Every wrinkle, every gray hair, is a sign of the experiences and wisdom that life has granted us. The Buddha taught that suffering is part of life, but it is through embracing these changes with awareness that we find true freedom. There is no need to fight aging or resist it. Instead, we are encouraged to embrace it with mindfulness, seeing it as a natural part of the cycle of life. Just as the seasons change, so do we, and each phase has something to teach us. What if I told you that you have the power to shape this stage of life? What if you could attract the life you desire, just by changing your mindset? Here, we see the connection with the law of attraction. The law of attraction tells us that we attract what we focus on. If we constantly think about lack or uncertainty, that's what will continue to draw into our lives. But when we shift our focus toward peace, love, and gratitude, we begin to draw those positive things toward us. The thoughts and feelings we hold are powerful. They are the blueprint for our reality. I know this from personal experience. There was a time in my life when I was struggling with defining my purpose after a career change. I found myself focusing on what I had lost, the structure, the stability, the sense of achievement from my work. But when I applied the principles of the law of attraction, I made a conscious effort to focus on what I wanted, not what I feared losing. I started paying attention to the things that brought me joy, the small moments that made my heart feel alive again, whether it was reading a book, spending time in nature, or helping a friend. Gradually, the more I focused on these positive aspects, the more opportunities came my way. It wasn't about waiting for a big moment of change. It was about making small, intentional choices every day that moved me toward a life I wanted. What if you could take control of your future, not through grand gestures, but with small, meaningful shifts in how you view your life? The beauty of the law of attraction is that it shows us we have agency over how we experience life. You don't need a dramatic change or a life-altering event to start feeling fulfilled again. It begins with small, purposeful actions. If you're unsure about what's next, ask yourself, what brings me joy right now? It might be something simple, like reconnecting with an old hobby, spending time with loved ones, or volunteering for a cause that matters to you. The key is to take the focus off what you don't have and to start appreciating what you do. Philosophically, Buddhism encourages us to act in alignment with our deepest values. As we age, we can let go of the pressures to perform or achieve in the same ways we did when we were younger. Instead, we are invited to act with intention, to align our actions with a deeper sense of meaning, rather than just the external measures of success we've been taught to value. In this way, we begin to live with purpose again, not by filling our lives with distractions or empty tasks, but by filling them with things that nourish our souls. You don't have to wait for something dramatic to happen to change your life. You can start today, right now, with small steps toward living fully. This brings us to a very important lesson I've learned. Don't wait for a major shift to feel happy or fulfilled. It's easy to fall into the trap of waiting for the right moment, but often, that moment doesn't come unless we create it. What's more, we can easily convince ourselves that we need something monumental, like a big move or a major change, to feel fulfilled again. But in reality, it's the small, everyday actions that bring the most meaning. A gentle walk in nature, a quiet moment of reflection, a cup of tea shared with a friend. These moments can be the seeds of joy if we allow ourselves to notice them. What if I told you that you can start redefining your purpose today without waiting for any grand revelation? The Buddhist teachings invite us to cultivate awareness in every moment. Rather than being trapped by external expectations or societal pressures, we can create a life of meaning by focusing on the here and now. As we age, we are offered the opportunity to refine what truly matters, without the urgency or distraction of earlier years. And through this, we can find a new, deeper purpose, not in what we do, but in how we choose to live. In my journey, I realized that finding my purpose wasn't a matter of discovering a new, grand goal. Instead, it was about embracing each small moment with intention. It wasn't about seeking something big, but finding meaning in the small, quiet things I already had. For instance, I found new purpose in simple daily acts, like gardening, meditating, or spending time with family. These small acts brought me a deeper sense of joy and fulfillment than I had ever anticipated. What if you could start today, embracing the life you have and seeing the beauty in your current journey? So, here's the truth. Don't wait for something huge to change before you begin living fully again. Start with the small things, the simple actions, and allow them to lead you toward a more meaningful, fulfilling life. You are the creator of your happiness. The choice is yours. Start today and see where your intentional actions take you. With all these insights in mind, it's time to reflect on how we can live fully in our later years. As we move forward, let's explore how we can find balance, health, and true peace, no matter our age. Part 5. The key to living fully. Have you ever caught yourself rushing through life, believing there's always something more to do, only to wonder, when did I truly start living? As we get older, time seems to move faster, and many of us begin to feel as though we've missed out on something essential. We look back and wonder if we've really lived the life we wanted, or if we've simply been caught up in the rush. But life is not a race. It's a journey, one filled with moments, and those moments, when fully embraced, create the richness of life. The path of life does not lie in how much we accomplish, but in how deeply we experience each moment. We often get caught up in the idea that we must keep striving, pushing, and achieving more, but true peace comes when we can step back and allow life to unfold naturally. Every age offers its unique gifts, and the later years are no exception. They invite us to slow down, reconnect with ourselves, and cultivate a life filled with intentionality and mindfulness. What if the key to happiness isn't in doing more, but in being fully present in each moment? In life, the greatest fulfillment comes when we live in harmony with who we truly are, living authentically. This means living with compassion for others and ourselves, as well as embracing the present moment without attachment to what has passed or what may come. It's in these moments of stillness that we can hear the truth of our hearts and begin to live in alignment with our deepest values. When we're consumed by the pressures of modern life, rushing, working, achieving, we disconnect from our true selves. We forget that life doesn't need to be filled with constant movement. The real joy and peace come when we allow ourselves to simply be, to stop chasing, and to start appreciating what is right in front of us. In the Buddhist tradition, this is about bringing awareness to every action, every breath, and every interaction. When we are present in our lives, we find that it is not the external world that brings us peace, but the world within. Could slowing down and embracing simplicity be the key to experiencing life in its fullness? Think about the times in your life when you felt most at peace. Were they moments of frantic achievement, or were they times when you simply sat and appreciated the world around you? Perhaps they were quiet moments of connection, where you could feel the warmth of the sun, listen to the sound of birds, or have a simple conversation with someone you love. When we allow ourselves to experience these moments with full presence, we realize that life is already rich. It's just that we often forget to notice it. It's not about doing more or achieving more. Doing less can often bring us more fulfillment. The Zen teachings remind us that every action, no matter how small, can be an act of mindfulness. When we wash dishes, eat, or even walk, these can become sacred moments of presence if we choose to engage with them fully. Life is not about rushing through tasks, but living in each one. It's about slowing down, savoring the moments, and allowing ourselves to breathe in the richness of life. What if, by slowing down, we could start finding meaning and purpose in the simplest of actions? As we grow older, it's common to experience a shift in priorities. The external markers of success, career achievements, financial status, or even busy social calendars don't hold the same weight as they once did. Instead, we begin to seek meaning in what truly nourishes our hearts. This shift in focus invites us to reevaluate what we want from life. And often, the answers don't lie in grand gestures or big accomplishments, but in the small, everyday acts that connect us to the present. When we live according to our core values, things like love, compassion, peace, and connection, life begins to take on a new depth. Instead of chasing after fleeting things, we start to appreciate what truly matters. The simple act of being present with others, whether it's listening deeply, offering a kind word, or sharing a quiet moment, can bring more joy and fulfillment than anything we can achieve in the external world. What if finding your purpose wasn't about achieving big goals, but about living with intention, love, and gratitude every day? The true power lies not in our external circumstances, but in how we approach life. This is where the beauty of living with intention comes in. We can choose to live every moment with clarity, free from the noise of external expectations. This doesn't mean we stop setting goals or pursuing passions. It means we do so with an open heart, without attachment to outcomes. The path we walk can be guided by kindness, gratitude, and presence rather than a need to prove anything to ourselves or others. When we embrace this way of living, we start to notice that life is full of opportunities for joy, even in the most mundane moments. Whether it's a peaceful walk in the park, a conversation with a loved one, or simply enjoying a cup of tea, each moment holds its own beauty and significance. What if the secret to living a fulfilled life is to embrace simplicity, to stop racing against time and start living in harmony with it. The wisdom from both Zen and Buddhist traditions teaches us that true happiness comes not from doing more, but from being more. In the later years of life, we are presented with the opportunity to let go of the urgency that once drove us. Instead of focusing on what we have not yet done, we can begin to focus on what we have already experienced and what we can still enjoy. Life is about presence, not perfection. And when we live with intention, we start to realize that happiness isn't some distant goal. It's something we can experience every day. It's in the way we choose to engage with life, in how we interact with others, and in how we nurture ourselves. Could the key to living fully be as simple as living with more presence and love? The final lesson is this: life isn't measured by how many years we have left, but by how deeply we live in the moments we have. The clock doesn't stop, but we can choose to make the most of every moment by living in the present, by embracing love and gratitude, and by being fully present in our own lives. Time is fleeting, but we can choose to make every moment count. So, let's begin today, not tomorrow, not someday, but today, to live with mindfulness, intention, and joy. Time is something we can never truly hold on to, but we can choose how to live in every moment. Why wait? Start now, because life doesn't wait for anyone. As we come to the end of this journey, I want to remind you of what we've discovered together. Life is not about how much we achieve or how many years we accumulate. It's about how fully we experience the moments we are given. Time moves on, but the choice to live with presence, mindfulness, and intention is always in your hands. Remember, the teachings of Buddhism and Zen guide us to live authentically, to be present, and to embrace each moment with love and awareness. The law of attraction shows us that what we focus on shapes our reality. So why not focus on the beauty, the gratitude, and the peace that's available in the here and now? I encourage you to start small today. Take a moment to pause, breathe deeply, and appreciate the life you have. It doesn't require a grand gesture, just a simple shift in how you engage with the world. Whether it's a smile to someone, a moment of stillness, or reconnecting with something you've forgotten, these small acts lead to profound change. If you found value in this video, share it with someone who might need to hear this message. Leave a comment below, sharing how you'll start living more fully today. And don't forget to subscribe so you can continue on this journey with us. Remember, life is waiting for you to show up fully, so take that first step today.